Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Hector Montalvo. This show is dedicated to asking tough questions for you, the viewers. We bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Joining us here today at our MCTV studios, we are grateful to be sitting with interim school superintendent, Ms. Judy Scannell, and joining Ms. Scannell is Methuen's High School Guidance Department, head of the Guidance Department, Ms. Valarie Viscosi, right? Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Welcome to the show, ladies. How you doing?
Thank you.
Ms. Scannell, you just were just appointed as the new interim school superintendent. With all the challenges you were facing coming in, how's it going? Are you settled in yet?
I take it one day at a time. Yes, I'm settling in, and it's going very well. I have great people that surround me, that work with me. So the transition is going in a positive direction.
Great. Now, the district has till the end of December to submit their plan to the state for the bullying.
Correct.
Can you tell us what plans Methuen has set forward to address the issue of bullying, and what is considered bullying under Methuen statutes right now?
Okay, let me start with the following. This summer, many of the administrators with Val, and Val is heading this piece up for us, attended seminars sponsored by DESE and the Attorney General. And they've been very informative, and they are guiding us towards putting the plan together. And we began this process soon after, in August. The administrators started meeting, and they started a discussion looking at the templates that the Attorney General's office has submitted to all of us. From that point, the administrators have been meeting weekly with Val, and they're starting to script together the documentation that we need for the December deadline. A big piece of this is the parents of this community working with us, because we need another set of eyes. We want them to be part of this every step of the way. So we had our first meeting last evening. Val ran the meeting, I attended, and we had parents from representing all 4 K-8s as well as the high school. So we did a little introduction. We explained to them what the process will be, and there are going to be monthly meetings through December that they will be meeting with Val and I, and we're going to share with them the pieces that the administrators have put together.
Now, is Methuen schools required to bring a plan better than the actual state?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
No.
How would kids be able to report bullying?
Okay, I'm going to let this piece over to Val, because it's twofold: administrators as well as children reporting. Good question.
Yeah, I think part of what we're working on are the ways that that can happen, and certainly being a district that we have preschoolers all the way up through adult education in the district. So I think it's going to look universal is our goal throughout Methuen, so that it's clear for the community and how to be able to report, but also I think mindful of where kids are in their different age developmental place. So for example, right now, one of the tasks we've been working on in the administrative meetings is the bullying report form. So we've met with administrators from all the different sort of developmental levels, and we've decided to go with a universal format that would be used throughout the district. There's also a form for investigation that will kind of help unify what our response sort of steps would be to investigate, whether you're in preschool or lower school or upper school or high school. And then also the mechanism to give feedback back to the people involved, the students as well as the parents of the students throughout the district. So that's part of the work we're doing through the fall. We've made some great progress so far, but it's definitely a work in progress. So there'll be a form, and we're hoping that that form will be available on the website as well as at each school. But that won't be the only way to communicate. So for example, if a student is young, we're not going to have them fill out a form because that wouldn't be appropriate. But certainly that somebody is working with the student and providing, that kind of documentation to make sure that we have record of what's been reported and that we have a mindful sort of investigation and then response piece as well. So there'll be a form, but also still the human side of reporting as well.
What can be done as far as children reporting bullying without being identified?
Yep. So there's definitely a provision. There's also a mandate from the law for anonymous reporting, and that anonymous reporting can happen. Adults can anonymously report as well as students. So again, the form is certainly a way to be able to do that. Somebody can fill that out and they're not required to put any identifying information on the form. And certainly we get calls, from concerned people, or sometimes people will leave notes. It depends again on the age group and who it is. But every report will be investigated in a timely manner. That's pretty important too, that it happens, very quickly to the time that the report comes in. And that investigation process, part of it is determining whether in fact a bullying situation has occurred or not. And I know you mentioned in your introduction about the definitions of bullying, and the law does provide that. So that's kind of one piece the local communities like Methuen, we don't actually have to come up with because they provided that to us. But I think that's part of the work we're going to be doing is in the investigation phase is, does it actually constitute bullying or not? And if not, we still want to be responsive, but it would be a different sort of process.
When would bullying convert to being a crime?
That is the piece that that's a tough piece. That's the piece that we're working on, and that's a continuation with the DA. Right now, the definition states that this is a situation where it is the same person repeating over and over again on the same child. Then, depending on the severity and the parents' wishes, then it can go to that next level. We hope to have, and we will have, steps in place to work with students and parents. But if it does hit that level, certainly parents have rights, children have rights, and it can go to that level.
Now, I know that it's been publicly stated on this show, not just by the school district here, but we understand that some parents are labeled as difficult parents when they go in to advocate for their children. We don't know for sure that this is happening in Methuen schools, but moving forward, what I'd like to know is, if a parent is labeled as a difficult parent when they're advocating for the children, would that be considered as the parent being bullied as well?
No, absolutely not. That really is a parent who has concern for their child and wants to make things work for their child so they will want to go to school and to be happy. Absolutely not.
Now,
and again, this is another positive piece of this law because it will break this down so certain people will be looked at differently as advocating for their children.
Right. Now, the school deals with special ed children and children that may have ADHD.
Correct.
And we know that sometimes it's difficult to keep, those individuals segregated from particular groups. But is there anything that is put in place where a child can report being bullied by maybe a teacher that he feels is singling them out individually?
Yes, there is.
There is. Can you tell us about that?
Well, again, now we're working on that piece of the plan. We are working on that now in documentation, and students, the comfort of students with their guidance counselors as well as administrators in the building that they can report that to, and certainly speaking to their parent who hopefully will pick up the phone and say, this is what my child reported, and that will be investigated. Absolutely.
Now, who'd be responsible to investigate all reports of bullying?
Well, Just to add on to
Yes.
the last part too, is that part of what the law talks about, and one thing I was just going to back up and say too, is it's a bullying prevention and intervention law. So I know that we've been talking about so far that more the intervention part, and I think that is the part with the public that's most, sort of grabbing our attention, for sure. And but at the same time, really the spirit of the law is about the prevention piece as well. It has mandates for us to review what do we provide in terms of curriculum, creating safe and respectful school environments, and so there's that side of it too. But moving beyond that, with students with disabilities you mentioned, and the law does say that for students with disabilities, that if they have an educational plan, or we're extending it also to a 504 plan, but basically if the student has a disability that might leave them at greater risk for bullying, that their educational plan actually has stated in it what kinds of safeguards are going to be taken to protect them. So that's something that we've started our consultation with. The nice part is we team with the community, so we have good resources to make sure we're moving in the right direction, and we're working on that, being able to incorporate a plan for making sure that every one of our students who has an educational plan or a 504 plan actually does have that, and we're in compliance with that piece. So.
Do you think peer mediation is still effective?
Yep.
Yes, we do. At certain levels, certainly the confidentiality piece comes into play, and again, it's the level of the incident that's reported, but certainly it does. It's a wonderful piece to see children communicating with each other. There's comfort there for the children to speak. So yes.
So there is protection going around with your administration right now as far as bullying and what can be done to. What about from the schools into the school buses? Is that still going to be monitored?
In this training that we will have the entire staff go through January, we're looking at January after the plan goes in, this entails food service, bus drivers, nurses, program assistants, teachers, administrators, the entire district staff will go through this training. And yes, buses are a very difficult piece. So much goes on the buses, and it's hard for a bus driver because they need to concentrate on their driving. We do have cameras on the bus now that have been extremely helpful. And it's all about the reporting piece, and that piece normally comes from a parent, and it is taken seriously, and it will be documented.
So who would be responsible to ensure that all cameras on the buses are actually working?
That is the bus company's responsibility.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what else? How does bullying affect a child in the school system?
It can affect their emotions, their academic work during the school day, their socializing skills out in the playground. It taps into all aspects of the child.
Do you guys find that it's hard for a child that's being bullied to actually report that they're being bullied? Or how does the school find out that someone is being bullied besides the parents themselves?
Sometimes it's children, their friends. Sometimes it can just be what a teacher witnesses, what a teacher feels when they're looking at that child, if they seem that they're not involved in the classroom, if something's weighing on them. So it would be teachers, it could be a guidance counselor, as we say, parents, friends, neighbors, a variety of people.
And you'd be responsible as far as guidance counselors, those problems would actually come to you as well.
Yes, and part of the way that might happen would be that once bullying has been investigated and deemed to have occurred, there's sort of and that's part of what we're working on, sort of what are the different protocols for how to respond to different situations. And in some cases, many cases, part of that would be we always think of it as a balance between consequence and support. So even for we term it aggressor, in the bullying situation, we try to think of a balance of both consequence, certainly, for the action, but also the support or education piece. And that often will happen in conjunction with the guidance counselor or school psychologist in the building. And the same is said for the target, as we say. We use that language instead of the victim. And but the target of bullying as well, there's certainly not the consequence piece, but we really think about where that support can come from, and certainly in the classroom, the teacher, and all the different parts of the school. But often to make sure they have a trusted adult that they feel like they can talk to, and also provision for someone to check in with them. So they may be, as you said, not someone who's going to come forward, but later afterwards to have some follow-up and someone to check in and see how's it going now, and because we may think it's okay, but we want to make sure they think it's okay.
And as Val had stated previous, this is really all about prevention, and we are putting some great programs in place for the lowest schools, kindergarten through grade 4. It's called Second Step. And this is a curriculum piece that's going to be implemented in the daily classwork. Hopefully it will start their morning out. And this really is a tool to help the children develop those skills to be able to report that they're being bullied. It's a wonderful program. It's about self-esteem. It's about just being a nice person to everybody that surrounds you. So we're very excited about this. Some of our teachers have been through the training. The rest will be over the next few months. So again, we're taking this very serious, and the professional development is priority for all of us.
Now, what could be done to protect the accused, someone that it's being bullied? How does the accused don't feel that they're the target of being accused of being bullying without knowing all the facts or whatever the case is?
Well, that's really all about the investigation in the interview process, which everybody that's involved needs to go through. And it really comes down to the facts. What really has happened? And again, it's a process. How many times has this happened? So it really is all about the facts and what comes out of those interviews. And yes, certainly everybody is protected until they're found guilty.
And most of the children feel that they can actually go into their schools and talk to principals like yourself, now school superintendent, or the teachers and so on. So there is some type of comfort that, you know, you guys do talk to the children and ensure them that they are safe in the schools and so on. So that's a good thing. Now, as far as reporting or keeping statistics of how many bullyings are going on in the school, how would the public be informed of that?
That will be in our plan.
Yes,
it's actually, a piece that, again, the documentation, that's what this is all about, and everything is filed and kept. And I believe there are a lot. But we have to hold on to this documentation for many, many years.
Well, I know that under the Sam Adams Alliance, they rate the schools across the United States. Methuen, under the old administration, had a current rating of D.
Okay.
What would you do moving forward to increase the ratings to an A for Methuen as far as open and transparency?
All right. What I would need to do, and certainly will, I need to really read up on this. I'm not aware of this, and I would have to look at the pieces that they have highlighted as to why the district is rated a D, and then improve on those pieces. So that will be my first step to investigate this.
So under your administration, you will have an open and transparent administration for any concerns that the parents have.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, going back to the school bus department, and we've invited the school bus companies to come on to the show also, but we've noticed that a lot of their camera equipment are not operating, and if an accusation is made in bullying and there's no videotape, then what steps do people take then?
That really comes down to, again, the investigating, the interviewing. It's very time consuming without the camera because many, many people have to be spoken to, sit down, have a conversation with. So it is time consuming, and records, everything is documented, looked at. Parents of both parties are brought in. So that is the process, and then the conclusion. Okay, this is what really happened. And you know, when you interview children, the truth does come out. It really does.
Yeah, they have a tendency
Yes.
of basically
Right.
saying, and I find that a lot of children that are questioned by a school official, they tend to be honest in
Yes.
regards to
Yes, right.
situations like
and
that.
we also, you know, we look at the personality of the children. If they're more comfortable with a guidance counselor, certainly the counselor will step in, teacher, principal. So we take that all into account.
What I have an 8-year-old daughter. Her name is Helena. She goes to the Timony School. What would you say to someone? She was involved in an incident where she was defending someone else. Can that be considered bully as well? If you're defending someone, I know it's wrong, but I just wanted to address that
You mean,
particular.
right. Well, you know, we talk about, it's a good point.
If someone's sticking up for someone
A
else.
bystander, we
Right,
call them.
that's right.
And part of the professional development that we're going to be doing and the curriculum work we're going to be doing with kids is the role of bystander. It's a very difficult one for kids to be in. And most of the work that we're planning is around supporting the bystander, not being passive, and actually creating a culture where standing up for kids is the norm.
Is a good thing.
So she's on the cutting edge in
Yes.
that way, but it's a difficult place to be. It takes a lot of courage. Kids can feel very fearful of being the bystander that doesn't, go along or just walk away from a situation. Would it be interpreted that she was then becoming a bully back? Not under normal circumstance at all.
I highly doubt that.
But it certainly is something we're trying to encourage, that we're sort of shifting the tide of the culture for kids to really feel comfortable and confident saying, hey, this isn't part of what we do. This is not how things run where we live in our schools. And getting from where we are now to there, that's what we're planning, this fall. It's really trying to make it a really meaningful change, not just checking off what the law is requiring, but trying to figure out ways to make kids feel more empowered to do just that.
So what's the vision moving forward from here in regards to keeping children safe, preventing bullying from happening in Methuen, so Methuen can lead by example to the rest of the other communities?
The vision for myself, and I can speak for all the administrators, is to have a safe, comfortable learning environment for all our students, where they want to come to school, where they want to learn, and when there's comfort, the children really will be attentive in those classrooms. So that's our goal for every student, as well as our parents, because that's hard for us when a parent comes in and, they're very uncomfortable. Again, they're advocating for their child. So a comfort level for everybody to come in a nice environment.
And under your administration, it's going to be open and transparent, so reports will be investigated and so on. So how long before the actual plan takes effect for Methuen in regards to the bullying?
Well, I think we're planning the pieces for New Year's Eve, I was saying, is our completion date. And then there's going to be a process for the state to sort of give us feedback, I hope. They haven't really talked too much about that piece yet. And assuming that we get positive feedback and probably some good criticism, then we move forward. Some of the pieces are happening already. So, for example, the second step curriculum that we're planning for grades K through 4 that Ms. Scannell mentioned, that's been in practice in some places for years, but we're going to make it a universal district-wide implementation. And our hope for that is during the fall. That in November, December timeframe, we have plans for implementing that. So that hopefully will be underway well before our plan is even due. Other pieces, I think, we're going to be waiting more for feedback Part of the feedback I just want to throw out too is some of the things we didn't mention. For example, we're going to be doing surveys to get input from
right.
parents
That's an
and from
important
staff
piece.
and from students. Also working with us, Judy mentioned the parent and the community. School safety officers are part of this initiative as well, but also students. We have groups of students at the high school. Some classes have come forward and they're going to be working on the surveys actually and doing that as part of their real world experience in their class, but also bringing in other students as part of this. So it's really a community, multifaceted effort. It's not just the administration or teachers and administration sort of saying, well, this is how we're going to meet the plan. It's really working all together as a community. So it's exciting.
Yes, that's
It is.
good.
It is all about the community to make this work, that
Yeah.
we're all working together on this piece.
Yeah, we definitely need that. We definitely need more parents to be involved in the children. What about non-custodial parents where they don't have access to their children on a full-time full-time basis? How would they be able to get information in regards to their children that might be being reported being bullying or something like that?
Well, the communication should be open, and the parent just really needs to pick up the phone, make a phone call, come in, sit down and talk with the principal. Again, to have that ongoing conversation so they are involved with their child to make things better.
What step? Is it going to be a written warning, suspension, and how would that work in bullying?
That's part of what we're still
Struggling with?
We are struggling with that. But
we have the way we've been dealing with things because unfortunately bullying has been occurring, which
Correct.
is why the law has come into place. So we have practices of how we're doing that, but we're just getting into the heart of that now. As a district is looking at how do we handle things? Is it uniform in different places? And so really struggling with that. And then the second piece is being able to clearly articulate that to parents, to students, to teachers, so that everyone really knows if this is the case, as much as you can quantify it, this is where we're going to go with it. So that's definitely the heart of the matter for us right now.
Well, I appreciate it. Now, if a parent or a student had concerns in regards to being bullied or had questions for you, how can they reach you directly?
Well, I am definitely, we've been talking about cyberbullying a lot, and I'm one of those people you can find very easily on the internet. So if you did, even if you forgot the website, which is www.methuen.k12.ma.us, if you just Googled Methuen Public Schools and go to the website, you can just click on the administration, and there I am as the guidance director and my email. So that's a great way. Also, if you're someone who doesn't have internet access and just wants to pick up the phone, by all means, my office is at the high school. You can just call the main number and ask for the guidance director, and they'll shoot you right over. And even if I'm not there, I have voicemail. And I really was saying last night to the parents, too, I really welcome that kind of input. It's going to help guide something more meaningful rather than just perfunctory, I think, in the end.
And Ms. Scannell, if anybody needed to reach you?
Central Administrative Building, all they have to do is call, and all calls are forwarded to me. And if I'm in a meeting, they'll hear back from me. Absolutely.
And we want to thank you for being open and transparent